Hey YouTube, it's Sandwich. Thanks so much for coming back and joining me. So as you can see here, I've got the Country Living Grain Mill Owner's Manual out. And this is going to be the start of my sandwich video. Yeah, we're going to grind the wheat to make the bread to then make the sandwich. So something I hope that's a little bit different, and if you're looking into a grain mill, you may find this kind of interesting, specifically if you've been looking into the Country Living Grain Mill. Okay guys, so I'm going to show you some footage of the grain mill itself here from the front, and then also coming around the side so you can get a better look at it. After that, you'll see a picture of one of the buckets that I opened with our wheat berries in it. We store hard white and hard red. I chose hard white for this recipe. And then you're going to see me pouring the wheat berries into the hopper, which is that clear box looking thing on top right there. And you'll see me put the lid back on the hopper. And then I'll start grinding. I'm not going to voice over during the grinding because I want you to hear how loud it is. Okay guys, so that was grinding the wheat. Now I am mixing up all the ingredients to make our bread. And it took roughly about 25 minutes or so. Yeah, about 25 minutes of total grinding time to get, it was about 3.5 to 4 cups of flour. I ground extra so that I could have some to sprinkle out on my dough mat when I went to turn the dough out after it rose. So you can just see I'm mixing up everything here. I use a bread recipe from jennycancook.com. It's the cooking website for, yes, I did just smell that flour. Don't judge me, it smells good. I use a bread recipe from jennycancook.com. It's the cooking website for former talk show host Jenny Jones. There I am covering up the bread with plastic wrap so it can rise. It rises for 3 hours, and then I come back and turn it out onto a floured surface or onto a dough mat, which you see my dough mat right there, and I'm getting out the flour from the fridge. There's the extra flour. Now with fresh flour, you can refrigerate it for up to 3 days, or you can freeze it for up to 6 months. But yeah, don't leave it out on the counter for sure, because the oils, it'll go rancid. And there's my dough knife. If I can get the cover off of it. It's not sharp, it's very dull, but I'm always careful to take the cover off. And with this recipe, you just turn the dough out, and yes, I'm showing you the dough right there, and I'm showing you how spongy it is from the yeast. It was really nice. And yep, and oh, there we go. Use the dough knife. Now fresh flour kind of, my experience is it just reacts differently than the commercial bag stuff. And you don't have to knead it in this recipe, but I did wind up doing that because I felt like the dough knife was cutting it too much. So I turn it a few times, and you don't even really like full on knead it. You just turn it onto itself, fold it over, I guess I should say, fold it onto itself about 10 to 12 times, and then you kind of form it into a ball shape. And you put it on parchment paper in a clean bowl with a towel on top, a tea towel or a kitchen towel, and let it rise for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And during that time, your oven is preheating to 450 degrees. And it'll also have whatever dish you plan to bake the bread in. You can use a Dutch oven. You can use a glass Pyrex dish as long as it's got a lid. That's the key part. It has to have a lid. And once it comes up to temperature and your second rising time there is up, you just pick up that parchment out of the bowl and you drop it into whatever dish you're using to bake the bread in, whether it's the Pyrex dish with a lid or your Dutch oven, so it stays on that parchment paper so it doesn't stick to the inside of the pot. And there I am using my Pyrex dish because I didn't feel like lifting my Dutch oven. And after 30 minutes, you pull it out, take the top off, put it back in for 10 to 12 so it gets brown, and there we have it. That is the end result. We've ground the wheat to make our bread. We're ready to make our sandwich with our preps. Yes, we are making a grilled cheese sandwich using Bega canned cheese. And we're going to use red feather butter to butter the bread to grill it in the pan. Now, I didn't go all out and get out the butane or the propane stove, so sorry. You'll just have to, pretend. After the storms about a month ago, I'm done with the butane stove for a little while. I didn't feel like dragging it out. So this is what we're doing. There's a red feather butter. It's from New Zealand. Bega cheese is from Australia. And it's a pop top. And I stopped right there because I told Mr. Hey, you want to come look at this? And he said, yeah. So I was waiting for him to come in. And there I go pulling the pop top. It's a substantial pop top. It is no flimsy little thing, which is nice. And I'm just showing you the arrow that imprinted on the processed cheese there. It is processed cheese. And now I'm opening the red feather butter, obviously not a pop top. And it's no flimsy can either. It's a nice sturdy little can. And I couldn't get the top to come up on its own, so I went to go get a spoon to open it. So instead of using a knife, I was afraid it would slip and cut me. And there we go. And you can see the butter there. It's very soft. It's very, very soft. And it's actually really, really good. I like it. And you can see we've already been into the bread because I made the bread a couple days ago. So I'm going to cut a couple of nice thick slices of bread and butter them with our red feather butter. Now, when I make a grilled cheese sandwich, I butter both sides of the bread because I toast both. I toast both sides so that it's toasted on the inside with the cheese and on the outside. And that's just how I've always done it, and I really like it. And you can see I'm really slathering that butter on. It was easy to get a little crazy with the butter because it's so soft. I'm not used to butter being that soft. And oh boy, yeah, frost that bread with the butter. Jesus. I can just feel my cholesterol going up, can't you? Anyway, so yes, I'm doing both sides of the bread, and I'm going to put it to the pan and start grilling up that bread. And yep, there's the cheese. Oh, that's right. We have to get that out of the can first. So I thought maybe I could just run a knife around and it would pop out. No, that's not the case. You can run the knife around it, but it's not popping out in one piece. So I made a cut like that. One, I thought maybe it'd pop out half and half. No. So I made another cut, and it did come out as you see right here. Come on, there we go. It came out in quarters, and that was fine. And I actually wound up slicing 2 of the quarters, so half of the, oh yes, and there's cheese along on the inside rim. So if you get this, be aware of that. You make sure you get all the cheese out. And I try a little bit of it right here, and it was good. It actually was, and I'm not a fan of processed cheese, but that was actually good. So I'm slicing it for the sandwich. I wasn't sure how much I'd need, so I just went ahead and sliced half of it. And I've already started grilling it. You can see the butter's already melting into the bread. And checking it, see if it's ready to flip, and it is. So now we've got 2 toasted pieces there on one side, and it's time to put the cheese on. And there we go, Bega cheese. I wanted to make sure I had cheese on all of it because I really like a grilled cheese sandwich. So I've got it all on there, and now I take the other piece of bread and put it on top. And I need to straighten that up. So straighten that up, sandwich. Come on, turn the bread. Just, yes, like that. Thank you. Thank you. That was making me crazy. Okay. So now we just toast both sides of the bread. And time to flip. Ooh, that looks delicious. Hear that sizzle? Mm-hmm. That made a really good sandwich. The bread was nice and crispy. It had a nice crunch to it. It was really good. And there I am finishing up the sandwich. And I'm going to not plate it necessarily, but I'm going to put it on the cutting board here in just a second and cut it in half. And I wish I'd left the sound in on it so you could hear the crunch of the bread when I cut it. And then I cut it in half again after this so that Mr. and I could each have a piece. Okay, so here's my review of the sandwich that we just made. Okay, so the bread, delicious, of course. Having a grain mill is definitely an investment. If you've never priced them, then go take a look at the prices. It's something that Mr. and I looked at for many, many, many years. We pulled the trigger on it last year during 2020. because of what was going on in 2020, and we weren't sure, well, nobody was sure what the heck was going on or what was going to happen, how bad things would be. So we were actually supposed to take a vacation, and since everything canceled, we decided very quickly to take our vacation money and put it towards PREPS. And that's what we did. So, and that was the one big ticket item that we got. I encourage you to explore all of that if it's something you think you're interested in. It's not for everyone. We're happy with the Country Living grain mill. There are a lot of other kinds that are out there. If you decide that you're going to get a grain mill, please research all of them and make that decision carefully, because it is definitely an investment. You want to make sure that you spend your money wisely and get exactly what you want, what you think you'll need. Moving on to the butter. Red Feather canned butter is delicious. There was never any question. We have actually had Red Feather in our PREPS for many years. I know a lot of people are going to say, save your money, can it yourself. And I understand that, and you're right, it is cheaper. However, there's a lot of people who don't have the time, energy, or inclination to do it. And keep in mind, there's also a shortage of supplies right now, both canning supplies and canners. So if you fall into that category of you don't have the time, the energy, the inclination, and or the canning supplies, the resources to do it, but you have the financial means to purchase canned butter, then I would recommend Red Feather butter. But if you do get it, please keep in mind it does have to be refrigerated after you open it. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are not able to refrigerate it, see if you can use the remainder in some other dish so you don't waste it. Moving on to Bega canned cheese. The Bega canned cheese is something that's new to our PREPS, and I'm really glad that we got it. We've kind of been wanting it for a while, and with shortages the way they are right now, we thought, why not go ahead and get some while we still can? So we did. Overall, we liked it. Overall, it was fine as a grilled cheese. It does not taste like a grilled cheese sandwich would. The texture is a little different, I guess. I wouldn't even say texture necessarily. I guess it just doesn't melt the same way. We do think that it would be much better if it had meat with it. It would be absolutely delicious if it was a hot ham and cheese sandwich, or turkey and cheese, or if you put even some deli meat with it. Just something with it. I think it would complement a meat. Or if you are vegetarian, and if you had some grilled vegetables, this would be good on the grilled vegetables, like a grilled vegetable sandwich, it would be good for that. I could even see taking a can of tuna and make yourself a tuna melt with it. But if you don't have any meat to go with it and you had just your bread and some butter to grill it in and this cheese to melt it on, you'd be just fine. You wouldn't be upset about it. It was fine. It would just be more better. It would be much improved if it had some meat in it. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments about anything in this video, please drop it in the comment section below and I'll be glad to respond. I hope that you will like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. If you do, then be sure you hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload new content. As always, stay sweet.